name is AHRC. I work at the skills team at the Arts and Humanities Research Council. And I'm here today with quite a few of my colleagues, Tao Chang, who is one of our associate directors, Sue Carver, head of skills, Alison Campbell, grants operations manager, and George Hill, investment manager, all from the AHRC. We will first present to you about this new funding opportunity. We tried to tailor that presentation to the specialist institutions community, but we also factored in quite a lot of time for questions, so you can ask us questions once we finish presenting. So the way this is going to work on Zoom is that you can submit your questions through the Q&A functionality. Please don't use the chat for it, but use the Q&A functionality throughout the presentation at any point or afterwards. You can do it anonymously, or you can share your name, and also you are able to vote for questions asked by other attendees, because I imagine there will be quite a few things that many of you might have been wondering about since we have first launched this funding opportunity in November last year. So the purpose of the webinar is to increase your awareness of the characteristics of the funding opportunity, also to revisit some ideas and concerns that have already been raised with us by some of the potential applicants, and to also catalyze the networking process to help you build consortia. So as you might remember, when you registered, you had an option to opt in, to have your email address, your name, and the name of your institution shared with other attendees. After today's webinar, we will help you to broker connections by sending this list of contacts to everyone who has opted in. In addition, small specialist institutions are also welcome to attend 2 online surgeries that we have planned, as well as send us queries in writing, just like any other applicants. As a context, I just wanted to say a few words about the future doctoral provision program. This is a refresh of our doctoral offer. It stems from community engagement that resulted with the report that you can see on the slide, and the program consists of 2 new types of awards that take best practice from the awards that we've already had, but is also tailored to the current sort of AHRC strategy and budget. So within the program, we've got doctoral landscape awards that includes standard landscape awards and collaborative doctoral partnerships, and the focal awards that we are talking to you about today. And the distinctive characteristics of those focal awards is that they will provide targeted support for strategic areas of skills needs. The entire future doctoral provision program is based on a couple of really important principles for us. Among them, there's enabling collaborative learning and peer support, which is a really important characteristic of the focal scheme, welcoming diverse routes into PhD training, and enabling professional development and expanded skills capacity for the UK's future workforce. We have translated that specifically into a number of aims of the focal awards scheme. And we certainly see small specialist institutions as having unique strengths in quite a few of those areas. So on this slide, you can see that the aims are to deliver world-class doctoral training and development with cohort experience, to provide opportunities for students that will prepare them for a diversity of career paths. And I wanted to unpack this kind of diversity of career paths term a little bit. What we mean by that is career trajectories that lead people not just into academia, but also beyond academia, or that might require them working at the intersection of various parts of the economy or parts of the research and innovation ecosystem. We also aim through the focal awards to address underrepresentation in the AHRC funded doctoral community. And I'll tell you a few words about the EDI action plans that are expected as part of the application process later. And we want to support research capacity in strategic areas, addressing societal challenges through the arts and humanities, and through doctoral research specifically. In addition, Just like all our doctoral investments, focal awards are designed to advance current understanding, generate new knowledge, and develop the breadth of expertise. They are very much tailored to address skills gaps that we already identified across the research areas, and enhance collaboration and knowledge exchange within academia and between academia and other sectors, for the benefit of students, consortium members, and wider society. And this is why, in terms of who can apply, we require a certain type of partnership arrangement. So every application must be submitted by one institution that will be the lead applicant, and it has to be a research organization. Every application can include one or more co-leading organizations. So we don't set a sort of maximum number. It is completely up to the applicants to decide. You just have to tell us what would be the sort of added value of having each of the co-leads involved in the governance, in the running of your focal training award. So co-leads, they don't have to be research organizations. We have opened the door to independent research organizations to co-lead focal applications too. And the third part of this collaboration should be partners beyond academia. And the definition of a partner in this context is a non-academic organization which contributes to the design and delivery of the training grant. There is no cap on the number of partners either, just like there's no cap on the number of co-leads. But again, you must justify added value and provide information. How will you govern the partnership in an equitable way? There is no, again, maximum or minimum number of specialist institutions that we expect to be involved, but we are very, very keen for such institutions to take part in the scheme, either to apply as co-leads or as leads. So these are the eligibility requirements for organizations. The lead organization must be a higher education institution eligible for UKRI funding. So, for example, it cannot be a higher education institution from another country. It's got to be from the UK. It must demonstrate the ability to host a consortium model doctoral training grant in one of the 2 research themes that we have identified for this call. The co-leading organizations must also be eligible for UKRI funding. And we want to see a track record of involvement in postgraduate provision from either the lead organization or the co-lead. The co-leads, all the other higher education partners that are not leading, and the partners beyond academia, all of those involved parties must co-create a strategy within the sort of process of applying to ensure that the proposed training grant consortium's aims for student skills and career development will meet sector needs. And the opportunity is open to current and past AHRC award holders, as well as those organizations and institutions who have never had an AHRC funding for doctoral research before. So one more note I wanted to add here in terms of eligibility requirements for organizations is that each consortium must include at least one organization with research degree awarding powers, but it doesn't have to be the lead research organization. So a small specialist institution can lead even if they don't have degree awarding powers. We don't require for every consortium to include a small specialist institution as lead, co-lead, or consortium member, but we welcome diversity. And we will include such diversity in our approach to portfolio balancing. You must, when you apply, if you work in a small specialist institution, to tell us that your institution does fall into this category. And the way you can do it is simply to add that to your letter of support from your institution, which you'll have to upload on our system when you apply. We would really like for small specialist institutions to participate because of your unique strengths in the areas covered by 2 research themes, which are arts and humanities for people, planet and place, and also creative economy. A few more words about the themes in a moment. But I wanted to first acknowledge that the AHRC is very much aware of quite a few challenges that your community has already flagged to us that have to be considered as important factors in making those decisions, whether you do apply, and if you apply, in what capacity, and how can you deliver a focal training grant if you are successful in the application process. So the slide lists just some of those challenges. And this is your work, this is your life, so I'm not going to sort of tell you what they mean, essentially, because you know that the best. But in a nutshell, we know there's varying degrees of administrative capacity across the community, that some of you don't have very much experience of UKRI research application processes. And obviously there's additional costs that the type of research activity that you fund sort of comes with, and that might be facilities or field work or sort of additional equipment, etc. Especially when we're talking about practice-based research, which can really be expensive. So just to emphasize, these awards are for consortia. We don't accept applications from single or individual universities. Therefore, we anticipate that collectively, consortia members would contribute to administrative support, which might avoid placing undue administrative burden on specialist institutions. And once awards are given, AHRC expects the consortia will balance their resources and skills. Therefore, that in areas where smaller specialist institutions need support, they will receive it from other consortia members or partners. I wanted to also highlight some advantages that I think you very much have as potential applicants. And again, the slide is just a selection of these, and you know best where your strengths are, but the way we see it is that there's definitely incredible world-class specialism there, and a lot of experience in interdisciplinary research, for example, building bridges between arts and humanities and other disciplines. Knowledge exchange with other sectors, strong entrepreneurial impact, connections with industry, society, through existing partnerships, through some of your experimental approaches, and agility, and very much tackling real-world problems. So on that note, we know that some of you are incredibly interdisciplinary, and some have a focus directed at a very small number of very narrow disciplines within the arts and humanities. So I just wanted to say that both types of specialist institutions are welcome in the focal application process. And I think that applied research in particular puts specialist institutions in a very good place to find new partners and apply it for focal awards. A few words about eligibility requirements for individuals. This is taken from the funding opportunity, which you can find on UKRI Funding Finder. So I imagine many of you have already read them. So it's all about what the lead applicant, as in the person who leads the applicant, has to evidence or possess. A range of skills from leadership and project management, evidence of relevant experience which is appropriate to career stage. And on that note, the core is inclusive, and there is no minimal level of seniority required by the AHRC, as long as the project lead meets the eligibility criteria, which you can see on the slide. We want to see, for example, also how you have contributed previously to developing a positive research culture and wider community. And we want to see that you are dedicated to training the new generation of arts and humanities researchers. The applications will be applications submitted by teams, and there's a new selection of types of roles that UKRI have defined that you can choose on the system when you submit your application to reflect who in your team would fulfill what sort of function. We expect you to submit one narrative CV for the entire team. So that encourages brevity and really highlighting those essential skills and experience that you bring that really match training runs, doctoral training runs as a funding opportunity. In terms of terminology, for those of you who are very familiar with the JES system, a co-lead on our new system is essentially an equivalent of co-investigator, and the lead is an equivalent of principal investigator, obviously. Also, if applicable to your team, please list consortium members without the project lead or co-lead responsibility as professional enabling staff. And there is more information about those new team role types and guidance on the UKRI website that you can see the link to on the slide. Also, one of my colleagues will put that link in the chat, if not now, then when we move to the Q&A section. Moving on to the actual themes or the subject matter, there's two themes for the current focal awards opportunity. I think they both should enable diversity of higher education institutions and partners, including small specialist institutions. These are arts and humanities for creative economy and arts and humanities for a healthy planet, people and place. And each proposal must fit within one of these two themes. We have had some queries about combining both. For the sake of assessment, portfolio balancing and so on, please select one, which might use some techniques or methodologies linked to the other theme, but one of them has to be the theme that you focus on. They are deliberately very broadly defined, and both are interdisciplinary to an extent, but also allowing proposals that are 100% just from arts and humanities disciplines. A few words that I think really sort of encompass what the themes are about. Arts and humanities for a healthy planet, people and place is a theme selected to address the interaction between environmental change, environmental factors that refer to the natural and socioeconomic conditions in which humans interact with each other, and wellness and well-being for all. And our funding finder opportunity includes some possible areas that students might pursue once awards are set up. But it's very much open to your creativity. What sort of vision do you set for your training grant within this scheme, and obviously later to the student creativity. And the same really goes for the creative economy theme. So we wanted to include all disciplines that contribute to a thriving creative economy, really. It's a broad view of skills and expertise, and the theme is supposed to explore how doctoral training can develop and enhance creative practice in different settings with positive impacts for diversity, skills, and growth. And in terms of diversity, all applications within this theme should directly address underrepresentation in the creative sector. If you are uncertain of the discipline fit of your proposal, if you have an idea in mind, but you're worried whether there's enough arts and humanities in it for us to consider it for funding, you're very welcome to use our remit query form and contact us before you submit your application. I'm going to ask George now to put the link to this page in the chat. We will then get back to you by email and advise on the match of your proposed theme. Student numbers, the call is advertised not with a specific sort of value of award to apply for, but we ask you to apply for a specific number of full-time studentships. And the funding is available for 4 cohorts that have to be split according to the ratio of 3 to 3 to 2 to 2 over 4 years, 4 consecutive years, which essentially means that each grant will support between 20 and 30 studentships. And you don't have to go for 30. It's up to every consortium to decide how many would they like to apply for. It's worth noting also that AHRC has some potential for co-funding from other parts of UK research innovation or from other research councils for successful interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary awards, but that will only be confirmed once the funding opportunity has closed for applications, and we'll be able to see if that sort of interdisciplinarity is really present there in the applications. The number of awards will be dependent on the number of studentships requested by the applicants, but in total, we expect to make 5 or 6 awards per theme. And because we have 2 themes, so that probably will translate into about 10 awards in total, but the final figure might be different. The funding can be used for the following purposes: stipend, fees, additional stipend for London waiving, so that is students who will be based at universities which are in London. Additional stipend for 1 to 2 collaborative doctoral awards per cohort, individual student training and development, and really important cohort training and development, which will calculate on the basis of £1,200 per student per academic year. There is no additional funding for facilities, lab work or field work, but funding for individual student training can be used for it. And also you might, for example, come up with an idea of running some kind of group or cohort training to use a particular facility. Administrative, project management and leadership costs are not included in the AHRC award. We expect these to be the contribution from the consortia members, and that might be either in kind or cash. If you have any specific questions about purposes of cohort funding, I'm very happy to take them later. And let's move on to resources justification. So the application form on the system will also have an embedded file that you should download and complete, and that is the resources justification form. Please complete it and then upload it back onto the system with your information in it. And we ask you to tell us the number of full-time studentships you're applying for, how many students in each cohort might be based at universities in London, how many, if any, collaborative doctoral awards would you like to apply for. We also ask you to outline proposed types of individual student development activities. That can be really, really high level, because obviously it's hypothetical. You don't know who will be your students yet at that point. And also please outline proposed cohort development activities, and give us a little bit of narrative about your training and development group program for the students. I feel that perhaps not everyone in the virtual room has come across collaborative doctoral awards before, so I thought it might be useful to explain it for you as a community. These are doctoral research projects which are developed by a higher education institution and a non-higher education institution partner together. So they establish the topic and then recruit students to research the topic essentially. So those topics align with the non-academic partner's area of activity. For example, a gallery of modern art, for example, which has an independent research organization status, might want to prompt doctoral students to research a particular theme that is linked to their collection. The student spends up to half their time in the non-higher education institution organization. They have 2 supervisors. One is at the university, one is at that institution. And the funding within this focal opportunity is available for each consortium to support maximum of 2 collaborative doctoral awards per cohort. You can support more CDAs through your own co-funding, which is very much encouraged, but the funding AHRC has available is for up to 2 CDAs per cohort. All the focal awards consortia should develop a core set of skills training in those students, which covers the depth of research discipline, as well as a breadth of transferable and interdisciplinary skills, which are required to effectively address the challenge-based theme of your focal award, potential focal award. One thing to note here is that that program has to be flexible and take the sort of prior experience and ambitions of individual students in mind. So students should be able to select, depending on their needs, in line with UKRI statements of expectations, what training will they undertake from what you offer them. We expect you embed some sort of core elements in that training that will be mandatory, but that mostly it will be an offer that will be flexible. So in terms of the UKRI statement of expectations, George, if you could put the link to that in the chat right now, that would be great. Some of you, I imagine, might have read it already. It was published at the end of January. And to preempt any questions, even though our funding opportunity launched in November 2023, so before the publication of the statement of expectations, we very much expect that all the funded focal awards will adhere to the new version of that UKRI statement of expectations, because obviously our call doesn't close until later in the year, and the setting up of the awards timing will enable to embed that set of expectations, I would hope. A few words on equality, diversity and inclusion. I already hinted at earlier when I mentioned the principles of the future doctoral provision programme. Our ambition within the focal award scheme is to increase the diversity of the AHRC funded student population within the funding that we have available. So it is essential that all students will become part of an inclusive environment and receive the support they need throughout their studies. And therefore, all applicants must submit an evidence-based EDI action plan, Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Action Plan. On the funding finder, there's some headings that we have suggested to include in your EDI action plan, and I'm also very happy to take questions on that later. This slide shows the assessment criteria that we'll be using to score applications. They are vision, approach, equality, diversity and inclusion. Here you have to upload that plan that I've just mentioned. Your capability to deliver the training grant as a team. Ethics and responsible research and innovation considerations. The costs, the justification of costs and resources and studentships that you request. The sort of commitment of higher education institutions involved in a consortium to support the training grant, and the commitment of partners beyond academia, or the quality of partnerships. The descriptions of the criteria, which are essentially questions to guide you in writing your application, are available on the funding service, and I don't want to take any more time going through them. But just to clarify, these all will be weighed equally in the assessment process, and that once our assessment based on the criteria is done, once we have a ranked ordered list, we will ask our panel to balance the portfolio. And these are the 3 factors that the panel will consider in balancing, namely diversity of higher education institution types and non-higher education partner organizations, to ensure that all funded consortia are diverse and collaborate with a diverse group of partner organizations. Secondly, research focus, to ensure we fund consortia which have a distinctive research focus and the portfolio is balanced across the 2 themes. We wouldn't want to end up with a selection of 10 awards that are all about one of the 2 themes. And thirdly, geographic coverage, to ensure that the new training grants within the focal scheme are located in a range of regions across the United Kingdom. They're bullet points. They don't. There's no particular order to them. They're all the 3 factors are equally valid. I just wanted to make that absolutely clear. So the panel will provide advice to enable AHRC to create a balanced portfolio from the highest quality fundable proposals. And as part of portfolio balancing, we'll also consider how to maximize any available engagement of other councils, other research councils from UKRI. To wrap up, just a reminder of the key dates in terms of this funding opportunity. This call closes on the 2nd of July 2024 at 4 p.m. UK time, not on midnight, not at midnight or 5 o'clock. So please don't leave submitting your application to the very last moment. We have 2 more online engagement events planned. We call them surgeries. They're essentially going to be big question and answer sessions. So you can come with any further questions that you have. And following the closure of the call, we'll have a peer review period, and that will be followed by a moderation panel meeting, which is planned to take place in February 2025. Outcomes should be announced following that once the senior management of AHRC ratifies the decision, so probably around May 2025, which will then give successful applicants loads of time to recruit their first cohorts of students, which will begin in the academic year 2026 to 27. And the final cohort will start in 2029 to 30 academic year. There is some support for applicants available also in terms of the technical side of things. So I've mentioned the 2 online surgeries. You can also reach out to the TFS help desk if you have any questions about the system, because this funding opportunity is hosted on our new system, the funding service, not on the JES system. And you have to create an account before you apply. And it's designed to be much more user-friendly and streamlined. So I hope you'll all like it, but also I appreciate that sometimes there's teething problems with software. So we do have a dedicated support team if you have that kind of problems. I think this is it in terms of what I wanted to convey to you about the key characteristics of the call. We now have half an hour for questions and answers. So thank you so much for your attention during the presentation, and I'll hand over to my colleague George, who will manage the Q&A.
Hi everyone, just to echo what Aga said earlier, if you do see any questions that have already been asked in the Q&A box, please do give them an upvote, because myself and my colleague Alison have been trying to put these in thematically, but that would be really helpful if there's something that you think is really important and you would really like the answer to. So at the moment, we're going to start right at the top with, we wish to include international students in our application with our global partnerships. Is this something that is of interest to AHRC? We understand the AHRC do not cover international fees and stipends, but our own organisation would cover these, and this would add to the numbers of the cohort. So I'm going to go to Aga for that one.
Thank you, George. Yes, it's very much within the scope of the call, and we hope that diversity of the student community will also include some students from other countries. Like the question already sort of indicated, the fees that we offer are domestic fees. So if the consortium members are happy to cover that difference between international and domestic fees, then by all means, they're very welcome to recruit international students.
Wonderful. The next one that I've got is there any particular expectation about the spread of the studentships that are held by each HEI in the consortium? And that one, I think, also will go to you, Aga.
Not really. This is all up to the applying consortium to negotiate and decide based on their capacity, their research specialism that are present, their supervisor capacity in particular, and what they can provide to the students. So the ratio on the whole within the consortium has to be 3 to 3 to 2 to 2 over the 4 years, but how you split the studentships between particular institutions within the consortium, HRC is giving you the freedom to arrange.
Wonderful, thank you for that. This one is a bit more specific to a institution that is currently here. So it says West Dean is not considered a HEI, but is a specialist college with postgraduate programs validated by Sussex University. We've been asked to join a consortium by another HEI. Is it correct that the consortium would need a further HEI as well as one other industry partner, as West Dean has niche specialist skills and doesn't appear to fulfill being either HEI or an industry partner?
So can I pass that question on to you, please?
Yeah, so the specification is that there should be at least one HI partner and one non-academic partner. So in this case, I think we would include Westdean as a non-academic partner if they're not actually a HR within our the way we define them. So they would be included as a partner, because partners could be any type of organisation.
Very much so. The next one we've got is on the point, and it's in quotes here, a track record of involvement in postgraduate provision from the lead or co-lead is essential. Would a track record of master's level provision tick this box, or is a history of doctoral provision essential? I think that can go to Aga.
I think postgraduate could be either or also, but please could you support the answer to that question?
Yeah, I think we would be looking for some track record or engagement in doctoral support, as these awards are specifically about doctoral awards. I mean, master's support, obviously incredibly valuable, but I think somewhere in the consortium we would be looking for that track record of doctoral support.
Thank you very much, Sue. I've had a few about that basically spoke about the CDAs and the additional stipend for the CDAs. I'll try and condense them because there were quite a flurry at the same time. So the first one is, what do you mean by additional stipend for 1 to 2 CDAs per cohort? Now, I know, Aga, you did mention this and then went through an additional slide, which I think was after this was mentioned. So it might be worth just a quick recap there of what is meant by this additional stipend.
Yes, so so the funding is up to 2 per cohort, so that is for up to 8, therefore collaborative doctoral awards within each training grant, and that is to cover the types of awards that I've described earlier on the slide, which include co-supervision, sort of closer collaboration, and the students splitting their time between the 2 institutions. I'm not sure if the question had an additional aspect to it, or was there something that more precise within the definition of CDA or collaborative doctoral award that I've missed?
I mean, not within that question. There are a few that went into a little bit more detail. So I did see one that was actually put into the chat, and it said, when you reference these 2 CDAs, and you say per cohort, are you referring to the whole consortium or to each year's intake of students?
So cohort within the whole consortium and each year at the same time. So like I said, 8 in total, up to 2 per year, and that is not within every individual university in the consortium, but collectively across all the universities that are involved in the consortium.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there an expectation that the named project lead holds research experience, or can that role be held by someone in an administrative role, provided that the research experience is held by others in the team or in the consortium?
My interpretation would be that, yes, in the sense of inclusive approach, that expertise has to be in the team, so either project lead or co-lead. But I'm going to ask Sue to also contribute to that answer, please.
Yeah, I guess right on this one. So it could be somebody who doesn't have that research expertise, as long as that research expertise is within the consortium. So if you feel it would be better from somebody, you know, in a postgraduate school or somebody with that sort of experience to lead, then that would be fine, as that would all be part of the case that you would include for who was leading and who was partnering within the application.
Yeah, so your narrative CV can then indicate that you're, I don't know, researcher, developer, or someone with a research management kind of a role type is put forward as the lead, but there are people with research experience and jobs that are primarily about research on the team as well.
Wonderful, thank you very much. If an award is held by a small specialist institution as lead with an IRO as co-lead, does this mean that there could only be 2 CDAs? Or is this additional stipend for 2 CDAs in addition to the 20 to 30 partnerships?
That's within the 20 to 30 studentships, and that is regardless of whether we do have an independent research organization as a co-lead or not. It might be your partner and co-lead. Sort of being a co-lead is essentially about co-developing the application with that sort of strategic hat on, creative thinking sort of hat on, but also then co-leading on the whole sort of governance and management of it throughout the lifetime of the award.
Thank you. And then there's following on from this question, it states, if a HEI, whether they are an SSI or not, is partnering with an IRO such as a gallery or a museum to deliver this award, then would it not necessitate that all of the awards would be considered a CDA because of the nature of the collaboration? Or is there something that sets them aside differently?
So you can decide. It's not mandatory in that kind of combination of parties involved in a consortium for all the studentships to include 2 supervisors and in that sort of formal way, and split their time between being at the university and undertaking the research in a independent research organization. You could do it. There's no, AHRC is definitely open to those kind of applications as well. But the cost of any sort of extra CDAs above the 2 per cohort would have to be your contribution in kind or financially in cash.
Thank you. This one is asking, are you able to share any templates, examples, or best practice for EDI action plans?
I can definitely share the sort of high-level headings that we suggest. We don't have best practice because this particular approach to EDI action plans this is the first time we're implementing it. So there's no examples from the past, so to speak. But bear with me, I'm just going to try and share this screen. No, I think I need to skip through all of these till the very end. Apologies for that. I might be able to just share the one. This is a kind of proposed structure in terms of headings of your EDI action plan. So we would expect to see information about how you plan to increase access to doctoral study and how you'll recruit students, what will be the working practices within the team, between the team supervisors and overall within the consortium. What sort of support for well-being will you provide, and how will you manage sensitive data? This is not an exhaustive list, however, and you're very welcome to include aspects to this action plan that we didn't cover in those subheadings. One important thing to highlight is also that we expect each EDI action plan to include evidence. Evidence that would identify underrepresentation in your community, current doctoral community or research community, and then on that basis you will tell us what actions will you take to sort of improve that, and also evidence of any specific needs that community might have in terms of any protected characteristics or EDI characteristics that are not among the ones that are protected by the 2010 Equality Act, or overall positive research culture and good mental and physical health and well-being.
Thank you.
Also, just wanted to add, in terms of this evidence, we very much encourage applicants to not just give us the baseline data, but also if you are successful and you receive our award, we expect you to monitor how your EDI actions are working, whether they're making the desired difference or not.
Thank you very much, Aga. So this next one here has quite a few upvotes. So I think this one's going to be directed to Tao. I note that the cost of administering the awards is expected to be an institutional contribution, but how does this sit with the encouragement to small specialist institutions to lead or co-lead the consortia?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to apologise. It's very noisy in the background, so if you can't hear me, then sort of indicate that in the chat. I'll be quite brief. We are aware, as Aga said earlier in her presentation, that it is quite challenging for SSIs to lead an award. So we are considering, but it's in the early days of considering that if there is a strong SSI-led offering as part of this award scheme, we have notionally allocated some funding specifically to support admin and coordination.
I believe quite a few people have struggled to actually hear that. We do have closed captioning available. That's an alternative. Perhaps if I can encourage our audience to activate closed captioning, and Tao could sort of mention what she said once again, please. I'm really sorry about the quality of sound.
Is that a bit better?
A little bit, thank you.
Okay, so what I was saying is we are aware that it is a challenge for SSIs to lead documents. So we have notionally allocated funding to support a successful SSI-led focal consortium that is sort of clear need. I will be back in chat.
Okay, I'm just going to ask if Sue, have you captured enough of that, or shall we just ask Tao to type it in the chat as some of the attendees have suggested?
Yeah, I think we might have to ask Tao to follow up. Sorry, Tao. I think it was quite noisy in the background, so the captioning didn't work terribly well either. So I think we'll follow that up in some way if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. So there's another one here that's got quite a few upvotes, which is kind of on the same topic here. So this person has said it's really positive that there's a desire to increase the diversity of providers and engage a broader diversity of students into these schemes, and they thank AHRC for this. However, there is a direct contradiction here with the lack of additional funding support for administration. Essentially, what the message that's being put across is that small specialist institutions can only participate if in a consortium with a Russell Group institution that is able to provide the administrative support. Can additional administrative support be made available to help support diversity in this case?
It's a tiny bit quieter now. I think there was just a big inrush of people as earlier on. What I would say is, as I said in the chat, we have notionally allocated funding to support a successful SSI-led consortium that demonstrates unique SSI offering. And that funding would specifically be for administration and coordination across the consortium.
I'm just going to try and repeat Tao what you've just said, because I noticed another comment in the chat that it's slightly better quality of sound indeed, but still maybe not for everyone. So as Tao put in the chat, AHRC have notionally, this is not confirmed yet or operationally sort of planned fully, notionally allocated funding to support a successful SSI-led consortium, and Tao has added that this would be primarily for administrative sort of aspect of that focal training award. So I think that's it. Sorry, I was just looking at comments in the chat, but I hope everyone is able to hear me paraphrasing what Tao said.
This next one is simply, will the slides be shared after the event? I think I can even answer that. Yes, they will. The whole recording will eventually be shared on our social media platforms, and a link will be supplied on the funding opportunity page.
There's an additional comment in the chat, George, if you don't mind me sort of jumping in,
Of course.
which is a follow-up to what Tao said. And Tao has added now in the chat. So the question was, can you follow up on this, please, as this is a really important factor that will influence whether SSIs are even in a position to bid. Tao's clarification, this notional funding would be for administrative support across the consortium. That's just for the benefit of everyone. So if you're not even following the chat, I just read that comment that Tao put in the chat.
I've just seen that pop up now. Wonderful. Okay, this next one I think is going to have to be directed towards Sue, because I think it's referencing the landscape awards as well. So it says, are small specialist institutions being encouraged to apply for doctoral focal awards because AHRC anticipates that they won't do as well as larger HEIs in the doctoral landscape awards formula-based allocations?
No, we're really keen to encourage small specialist institutions generally, and we also feel that their particular expertise fits well with the focal award scheme. So no, we're keen to encourage SSIs through the focal award scheme.
Thank you, Sue.
George, if I can jump in again,
Of
because
course.
there's another message in the chat which it has been put to hosts and panelists rather than for everyone in the chat to see, but it's again a follow-up to Tao's announcement. The question or comment is, I assume that this means that we wouldn't know whether that funding for an SSI-led consortium is available, or on what level is available ahead of applying, so ahead of the call closing. Tao, if you could please clarify. We'll try.
Would you like to know the notional amount that's been allocated? Is that the answer, Aga, that people are looking for?
Whether the applicants will know if that funding is confirmed, and what is the level of funding and how much before
the level of funding
closes.
notionally at this point in time is between £300,000 to £500,000 a year for the duration of the programme.
And that is for one consortium, just to be absolutely clear.
At the moment, it is envisaged to be for one consortium. It needs to be an SSI-led consortium with a clear SSI offering, as it were. It can include other partners and HEI in the mix, but it needs to be SSI-led and to draw on or to demonstrate that it is an SSI sort of it's a sort of offering or a program that SSIs would really be best placed to deliver.
Thank you. So lead applicant as SSI and training grant offering or application highlighting that this particular institution is best placed to deliver. I think the quality of sound is better now, so I hope that people are able to hear that, but I still try to clarify.
I think suddenly it's just emptied out, so it's a little bit clearer now. But just to repeat what I was saying, AHRC is fully cognizant of just how challenging it is for SSIs to lead a focal or a doctoral training consortium. We are aware that it would therefore be a barrier for them that would prevent them from leading, and would therefore not enable us to meet our commitment to diversify the research base and to support across our entire community, and that we are therefore notionally allocating £300,000 to £500,000 per annum for coordinating coordination and administrative support, specifically an SSI-led consortium. You need to get the award for this thing.
Thank you, Tao. Following on from this discussion on administrative funding, the next highest voted question is, is there any chance to open up the conversation with UKRI about the lack of administrative funding? Because as small specialist institutions, we are by definition not replete with administrative capacity, and it puts them at a disadvantage against consortia that have larger HEIs in them.
Is this me again? So yeah, I think we would love to hear as many comments as you care to give us about how difficult it is for you to lead a consortium. And that means that by definition, you may feel at times that the doctoral provision that you participate in with a sort of large Russell Group lead does not necessarily play to your strength. But this is something we are keen to address. So, but really, quite frankly, the more we hear from you, the more I hear from you, the better. So bring it on.
Thank you. Okay, so next one, I think we've got probably enough time for another 3 or 4 because they're a little bit shorter now that we've got through the administrative one. So this one, I believe, will go to AGA. If an IRO is a co-lead, would they be limited to working with HEIs in the consortium for individual CDAs, or would they have the option of seeking co-supervisors from anywhere for the CDAs that they lead on?
I think I'm going to defer to Sue on this one, because I would imagine that we would expect the connections to stay within the consortium. But Sue, could you advise, please?
Yeah, that would be my expectation too, that it would be the universities that are in the consortium that would be the partners. But we'll take that one away, actually. I think there are complications potentially with going beyond the consortia. But no, so thanks for raising that. It's an interesting point.
Thank you very much. With regards to the collaborative funds, when you say that there is a maximum amount available per cohort, are you referring to the whole consortium across the 4 years, or are you referring to each year's intake?
Funding for collaborative training is going to be calculated by essentially multiplying the number of studentships you request within your focal training grant award application by £1,200 per each of the 4 academic years for the lifetime of your award. There's further information about that in that resources justification form that you can download from within the system when you apply.
Thank you.
I would say, George, let's do one more question and a bit of wrap up from Tao, and we're going to finish because we at 3 o'clock now.
Yeah, and I'll go for the highest upvoted one, which is, can an institution be successful in 2 bids, one as the lead and one as a partner, or would one project be disqualified in this case?
It would not be disqualified. So the only situation in which you would be, in a sense, disqualified with one of your applications is if you submitted 2 applications as the lead. So no lead organization is allowed to submit more than 1 application as a lead, but we are not placing any restrictions on the number of consortia you can be involved in simultaneously as either a co-lead or a partner or higher education institution without the kind of leadership function.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I know we've still had some unanswered questions. We will capture all of them. And you are very welcome, if you have a particularly burning question, to email us directly at enquiries@ahrc.ukri.org. George, if you can put that email in the chat for everyone to see, not just hosts and panelists, that would be amazing. Yeah, if you have any specific questions, we're there to answer them between now and when the call closes. You don't have to wait for the next online engagement event. And I believe in terms of sort of wrapping up and re-emphasizing our support for small specialist institutions. Tao still, now that the sound is better in the cafe where you're sitting, Tao wanted to
I
add a
don't
few
know,
words.
it might not be better. Is it better? Anyway, I'm going to assume
Yeah.
it's better. So just to reiterate, for the avoidance of all doubt, AHRC recognises that it is extremely challenging for SSIs to lead and deliver a doctoral training consortium. We are trying, we're just at the start of trying to address this. In this instance, we have allocated notionally 300 to 500,000 pounds a year specifically that we would award to an SSI-led consortium. So a successful SSI-led consortium, 300 to 5,000 pounds, up to £500,000 a year. Right, up to £500,000 a year, specifically to support coordination and administration, cohort building of the consortium. Any questions? Let me know.
Thank you so much. We're 2 minutes past 3. I'm really, really grateful for all of you who have tuned in to listen to our webinar today. You can see the recording of the previous webinar. It's already on YouTube. It's been there since December. This one was specifically advertised for small specialist institutions, so we need to do the usual kind of editing, so to speak, and uploading it. So that will take a little while, but it should be there as well soon. And once again, to emphasize, you're very, very welcome to contact us with specific questions at any point between now and the 2nd of July, which is the deadline for applications. So thank you for your interest once again. Good luck if you decide to apply. Yes, we're here to support you with further information should you wish to. Goodbye, everyone.